Hey Brush Monkeys, welcome back. I am going to talk about something kind of cool this week. I'm going to talk about basing with contrast paints. And by that I mean, some of you know Citadel makes these texture paints. Let me see if I can grab it here. Texture paints like this one. This one's Luster and Undergrowth, and it's basically just a green texture paint. It's like a pumice with coloring added to it. And they make a couple like this. That's like one of the last pots of that one I have. And they also make like Astrogranite, which is kind of a gray. I'm trying to think, like urban rubble kind of thing. There's mud colors. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm guessing 7 of these. They make a lot of different colors of them, and they're starting to phase them out, so they're not making them anymore. Which is kind of a pain for those of us who have based our entire army in one of these or another, and now they're going away. So what I've got here is some test bases. I basically just bought a pack of 25mm bases, covered them in this gray pumice, so this Vallejo gray pumice. And some of you who watch my videos have seen me talk about this before. It's essentially just texture paint without the paint in it. You can see it's just kind of a rough paste, and you spread this over your base with one of these. You can use the Citadel texture spreader tools, or you can use something else, whatever you want. And it just gives it a kind of a texture on the base, if you can see that on there. And then I primed it with Army Painter white, matte white primer. Army Painter matte white primer. And so what I'm going to do is I've picked 7 contrast paints that I think are going to work really well here. And originally I had only picked 6, which is why I only had 6 handles out. But the ones I'm going to do are Guilliman Flesh, Black Templar, Apothecary White, which I think is going to leave a nice, like almost snow base substitute. If you can shake it up enough, you see how it separates in the bottle. And then some new ones I got are Dark Angels Green, which I think will be good for grass, Wildwood, and Snakebite Leather, which I think are going to be 2 different colors of brown, dark brown and a lighter brown. And then just for the sake of making something like a Martian texture, maybe to go along with the Martian Iron Earth thing, I do Blood Angels Red on one of the bases, just to see how that turns out with the texture. So that's what I'm looking at right now. I'm going to go ahead and put the texture paint on these bases, and then we'll come back and take a look at how they look. You can also add tufts to these, all that kind of thing. You know, all the usual basing stuff, but this is just going to be a quick and easy way of doing basing. For those of you who've seen my other videos, you know that I say this in just about every video that involves these contrast paints, is I was really expecting to not like them, and I really do. And so it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of videos out now about the contrast paints and about all the stuff you could do with them. There really is a pretty wide variety of stuff you can accomplish with these things, and they're kind of neat. So we're going to see how they work for basing. So that's going to be an interesting experiment. Alright, so I'll be back in a little bit and we'll see what these look like. Alright, so we're back, and as you can see, the contrast paints are dried on these bases. Some of the contrast paints, like Guilliman Flesh particularly, could probably benefit from a couple of coats on there when you're using them for basing purposes, because the way the contrast paints work is when they dry, they kind of shrink up, and so they kind of pull away from the highlights, and that's what creates that highlights, and they pull in the shadows, and that's what does the highlight, base coat, and shadow thing all in one thing. With a really textured paint like this, let me see if I can get up fairly close here without whiting it out. But with with a really textured paint like this gray pumice, you tend to come up with almost white highlights because it wants to pull away from that a lot, and then it barely leaves anything on there. But it does create some interesting effects. And so I went ahead and put tufts and rocks on some of these just to kind of show what they would look like as ground. And you can see I used Army Painter Battlefield tufts, used Wasteland tufts for 3 of them. The browns here, the brown ones came out really nice. That really looks, that's almost indistinguishable from the Sterling Mud, or the yeah, Sterling Mud, Sterling Battle Mire that they had. This is a really great substitute for the Agrellan Earth or Agrax Earth shade. Not Agrax Earth shade. Bear with me a second here. Armageddon Dust. This looks like a really good replacement for Armageddon Dust and the Agrax Earth shade. And of course that looks like a great texture to put on there with the Martian iron crust or iron earth that'll crackle up. That'll give you some nice texture to it. So I'm really kind of, I'm really pretty happy with how these turned out. And the more I experiment with these contrast paints, the more I really like them. You can see the green came out a really nice jungle base. I'm going to go ahead and paint the base bands on these. For all of these bases, I've got, bear with me a second here, I've got magnets glued on the bottom of them so I can stick them to my workbench. So I'm going to go ahead and do the base bands on them and then stick them onto my workbench for future reference, because I think I've got a new basing technique. Even the white came out pretty nicely for a snow effect. So I glued a Tundra tuft onto that one. And yeah, so there you go. So there you have it. You can use contrast paints for basing. The Vallejo Gray Pumice can be used for a wide variety of textures and colors. Just paint them up with the Vallejo, or paint them up with the Citadel contrast paints, and it can fit in for a pretty wide variety of turfs and different kinds of basing. So yeah, go out and give it a shot, experiment with it, comment below on what you come up with. So I will see you guys later. Bye. Hey Brush Monkeys, Tom from Flying Monkey Studios here. If you like what you see, click like. If you want to find out when new videos get posted, click subscribe. Comment below on what you want to see on future videos. Visit our Patreon site for lots of ways that you can support me in doing what I do. You can also visit our Instagram and Facebook pages to see all the miniatures that I paint on this channel, and see how you can get your hands on one of your own. So thanks a lot for your time, and thanks for watching my videos, and I will see you guys later. Bye.